The gentlemen who get a vote for Hodge are selected. Like, you can't apply for a Hodge vote. I learned this out by trying to apply for a Hodge vote. They'll be asked. So there'll be a committee that goes out and finds a select group of media from within the industry. And then it is that group that votes for Hodge. And I don't have a whole lot of details on it, but I feel that it's a pretty small group. So, I mean, I can only begin to guess how many people are in that. But closer to 11 than 1,100. It feels like it's a pretty small and correct group. But there aren't a lot of rules around that. What I mean by, if you're a member of this committee, that's not a secret, even though I, who lives within this space, cannot produce for you who is or even how many are. Who you voted for, let alone having the right to cast a vote, is also not a secret. That is fully up to you. In fact, I'll give you counter approaches. Willie goes on Twitter to say, I don't know if I will ever tell you who I voted for, but I definitely will not do that until after the winner is announced. Christian, within an hour apart, I frankly don't know who went first, said I voted for Carter Starachi. So it is interesting, though. And within Willie's tweet, he said that while he's keeping his ballot private, he believes the choice, and the one that he came to, was very clear. And I appreciated that comment because there is a lot of conversation on that. There's a lot of debate. And if you're being nice, and I know that people of all walks of life are drawn to doing that. Oh, this was such a hard choice. But before they reveal the answer, and that really isn't a sportsmanship or even generous thing to do. It's meant that way, but they haven't thought it through, the people that speak like that. Because what they're really doing is they're taking away from whoever the winner was. While the unnamed people don't get their feelings hurt. It's really one of those pieces of speaking that people do that people get wrong. That whole, oh, this sure was a hard choice. We had to make a decision of, boy, what a lot of fine candidates. That whole routine does not in actuality succeed at what it's sent out to do. Not to mention, if you're in that position of voting, have a little courage. I mean, have this much courage in your body. You also don't say it to be nice, this whole, oh, this was such a hard decision. Boy, it's not just out of sportsmanship or generousness to the people that came up short. It's that you don't have that courage within yourself. If you're part of the committee for Hodge, by the way, which is a very select group, it's a very select honor, you need to have the conviction of Willie to be able to say, I felt the choice was very clear. Now, I do want to touch on that, though, because Willie putting that statement out it's one of the biggest statements that we have in the wrestling community, right? But if the choice is in fact clear, and I also believe that it's clear, I think the choice for outstanding wrestler of the national tournament is hard, but outstanding wrestler of the tournament has never gone, not in the NCAA. I don't just mean the NCAA tournament. Of anything the NCAA sanctions, the outstanding wrestler of the tournament has always gone to outstanding wrestler in the tournament. And I don't mean that 100% of times, but I mean 100% of the times that is the psychology. The coaches will look around and go, who's the best guy here? And they'll give him O-dub. It will have nothing to do with how he did in that actual tournament. And I only share that with you because that is a competitive discussion. if you want to say that Dean Hamnedy was the outstanding wrestler of the NCAA tournament, you're going to have a very hard time losing that argument. Now, I only bring that to you because how would you not give it to Wyatt, who beat the Olympic champion? How would you overlook Strachey, who won 5? How would you overlook Messenbrink, who ran through everybody? I mean, right, all of a sudden there starts to be a meaningful argument about the tournament. But Hodge is not done that way. Hodge is done by the season. And I only bring that to you because if you're going to give the Hodge any other direction than what they did at the tournament, you're now going in a direction that the community is not even internally arguing. There is not an internal argument amongst wrestling aficionados anywhere that are saying Wyatt had a better season than Carter. Just so you understand, there's not anybody saying that Dean Hamnedy had a better season than Carter. So that argument doesn't truly exist. So if that argument doesn't exist, then we're really not talking about the season. We're boiling the season down to one tournament, which is fine. But that's already been adjudicated. The outstanding wrestler of the tournament was Carter Strachey, unless you passed and you cast your Hodge ballot, unless you were disagreeing with that. That would be a conversation that I would very much like to have, and I would very much like to hear if the Hodge committee or anybody voting on the Hodge votes for anybody other than Carter, they are effectively saying they do not agree with the outstanding wrestler of the tournament. And I would love to see that battle. I would love if Hodge were to take on NCAA. It wouldn't be the world's easiest thing to give outstanding wrestler of a tournament to anybody other than the only guy that took out the most decorated wrestler in the tournament. That'd be a hard thing to do, but it's already been done. So now the debate of who should we give Hodge to, if that tournament has already been determined, you're left with this season, and I'm just sharing for you, there isn't an argument. There's no headline anywhere. There's no article anywhere. There's no single media member within wrestling who has put his name next to an article that he put his efforts next to in the public square known as the internet that has ever argued Dean or Wyatt had better seasons than Carter. So I'm all for the fight. If the Hodge committee wants to take on the NCAA committee, I'm all for the fight. But again, there's not a single reporter who has put their name next to a body of work in the public forum known as the internet who's made that argument. And in the absence of the argument, there is not a discussion. There is just Carter Strachey.